Yeah, Mark Shonda, this woman who contacted me says she's actually being punished for doing the right thing. In the process of trying to clean up her neighborhood, she began reporting crimes to the police, but that has made the criminals mad. Criminals who she says are now threatening to kill her. She wants to move, but the city says no. She's trapped in her neighborhood.
I'm worried for my personal safety. I leave the lights on all night inside the home.
Sue feels threatened inside her own home.
232 stack mine, I'll be now.
A 6-year resident in Salt Lake City's Neighborhood Development Program.
I love living in a diverse area.
A program that gets low-income folks into housing.
And I know this area is going to grow.
Sue today is so fearful, we have to protect her identity. It all started when she started seeing suspicious activity a few doors down.
It escalated into the residents of the home coming out and openly selling packs of meth and heroin.
So Sue contacted the cops.
I would report all the incidences to them through email.
And after a few months, arrests were made and people went to jail. But when they were released, Sue was identified as the whistleblower. And now she's a target.
Telling me to watch my back, making the handgun gesture at me whenever I was cleaning my yard or tending to my garden.
Turning Sue's life into a living hell. Sue says they've even marked her fence with red paint, a sign to target this house.
And I can't stay here anymore because of the threats.
So you might be wondering, why not just sell the home and move?
Program manager wrote that if I sold the home, it would be in violation of the 15 years.
That's right. To get the loan through the city program, Sue had to agree to live in the place for at least 15 years. She tried to explain to managers this is an extraordinary situation. Her life is at risk. Salt Lake City told her, tough. That disappointing news came in this letter. Salt Lake City voted against your request. Still, Sue kept pushing the city, which offered her this solution: walk away from everything.
In order to move and possibly save your life, the city's going to make you pay them more than $80,000.
Right.
Seems to me like you would have been better off never calling the police in the first place.
I would have been much better off.
Stuck in a dangerous situation without a fair way out, Sue asked me to investigate. We began our investigation by reaching out to Salt Lake City, who told us, unfortunately, their hands are completely tied. They said this housing program is a HUD program administered by the feds, and there's absolutely nothing the city can do to help Sue out. Really? When we reached out to HUD, a spokesperson told us they were surprised to hear about any of this, writing, quote, Salt Lake City did not consult HUD on this case. What's more, HUD says it's in fact Salt Lake City that controls how to administer the program. And where Salt Lake City had told us their hands were tied because of HUD rules, HUD says no. In fact, they're eager to try and help find solutions. In fact, now, after our calls, HUD is, quote, reviewing the case to make recommendations to the city about options. So we again turned to Salt Lake City.
But it's not something we take lightly.
And the Director of Housing and Neighborhood Development, Melissa Jensen.
Did the city do enough?
I think that's a really difficult question. Enough, I think we did what we thought we could do, and was that enough for her to feel safe in her home? No. And so that weighs on us heavily.
Jensen claims that if the city breaks HUD's rules, HUD could take away funding from the whole housing program, which would be bad for a whole lot of people. But according to the contract, the official penalty for letting Sue out is, at worst, a fine.
It seemed to me like the city was putting money over a person's safety. Is that the case?
I don't think that's the case per se. I think that we are very, very, I would say, reserved in reading the regulations.
Jensen also admitted that the city never reached out to HUD to ask about Sue's case. They just assumed HUD would say that Sue is stuck.
When things like this come along, I think it's okay to say, we do really good, but we're going to try to do better.
You feel threatened?
Very threatened.
And just like that, some good news for Sue. She can now sell her home, keep the equity, and use it to buy a new one in a safer place.
Salt Lake City did say they do not see safety issues in their housing program very often, but we did confirm there was at least one other time where a home buyer asked to move out due to safety issues, and that time also the city told them no.
Seems like there's been a learning curve, though, and that maybe down the road they can avoid this.
Absolutely. Salt Lake City said that throughout this story, thanks to this investigation, they now have a clearer understanding of how the program works. So if this happens again in the future to anyone else, it should be handled much more quickly.
Differently.
Differently.
Yeah. All right, Matt. Thanks. Appreciate it.